Interplanetary remix to page 444.
My name's Mark, welcome to Take 444. What the world needs now is another middle-aged man talking about his record collection, hey? I've been collecting Psych since the 80s, so that's 40 years. Actually not collecting it that long, buying it since the early 80s and collecting it probably for the last 10 years. That drift over from buying it all the time to actually collecting it is a very slippery slope and something that you probably don't quite realise is happening until somebody turns around and says, how come you've got 7 copies of Piper at the Gates of Dawn? And you can't really answer them. Anyway, I thought this is my first video and I thought I would give a general overview of my collection, just to give you some idea of what I've got, and I shall do some more in-depth videos later. So I'm going to shoot through the stuff quite quickly, just one or two highlights. We have Bevis Frond playing in the background, and I'll get to him later. So I'll start off with one of the first albums that was classed as psychedelic, isn't shown much on the VC, and that is Pat Kilroy, Light of Day. This came out in '66 on Elektra. In fact, there's inner sleeve there, red Elektra. It's classed as acid folk now. It was really just seen as a folk record at the time, I think, but it's quite an interesting period piece. One that we all know and love, a cornerstone for any psychedelic collection, is an original copy of the first Elevators album. This is a stereo with the four columns at the bottom. I'm sure you all know and love that one, on the Aquamarine label. Their next album, well, the third album, is my favourite of theirs. I've got an original copy here of Easter Everywhere. It's one of those records that does get terrible ring wear. This isn't too bad. So this is on the same coloured label, sort of greeny blue, and this is the one with where is it? Postures instead of pictures. Yeah, at the bottom there. So look out for that. That's an original copy, and it also came with the very elusive inner sleeve. I've had this for about 20 years. Prices of those are shooting up. Somebody who was associated with the Elevators and the Texas scene was Pal St. John. This is a record that he brought out just a few years ago before he died, 2017 actually, on Lysergic Sound Distribution. I think there's a hint in the title there. Anyway, this is sort of acoustic psych, and it's very good if you can find it. Another Texas band that doesn't get shown a great deal, but I actually absolutely love this record, is Parable of Arable Land, by the Red Crayola and the familiar Ugly. Hurricane Fighter Pilot and Transparent Radiation are the two standout tracks on that. I'm sure you all know that one. As you will all know this one, shown a lot whenever psychedelic music is discussed. And you may be wondering why on earth I'm showing that. That's because I have a signed copy. I wasn't there when it was signed, but I did find it in a record shop for a reasonable price. Also, a signed copy is by Arthur Lee, Love's first album, on the gold Elektra label. Fantastic record. That everything they did was pretty much essential, and I think I have nearly all of it. Got quite a few bootlegs. This is a Love bootleg, the third coming of Love. Like I say, I'm just going to shoot through these, give you an idea. If you collect for or search for records long enough, you come across some very odd stuff. One of the odd things I found was about 20 years ago, an original copy of 50 Foot Hose on Limelight Cauldron. It's showing quite a lot. It's not that scarce. I mean, it wasn't very well known when I got it. So there's the yellow Limelight label. What was interesting about this one is that inside was Cork Marchese's calling card, his business card. So it's on very thin paper. With his phone number at the bottom. I haven't tried calling it, but there can't be too many of those around. Bit of a collector's piece, that one. Another collector's piece is Piper at the Gates of Dawn. This is on Tower, signed by Roger Waters. Where is it? Down here. And I have a letter of authentication on there as well. As I said, I've got lots of copies of Piper, including a Russian copy on, what label is this? I can remember what the name of the label is. So it's called, it doesn't really have a direct metal mastering Russian disc. It's, this is a copy of Piper and coupled with Saucer Full of Secrets, and that's the inside cover, and it's got this sort of sepia coloured. You don't see those too often. This is not particularly classed as a psych record. I wouldn't class it as a psych record, but I thought I'd show it. I have a cool signed copy of Dark Side. This is a first pressing, but this is an 80s, that's the 80s band signing it, so there's no Roger Waters, I think. Quite difficult to tell from the scribbles, but the others are all there. One of the great classic British psych records is Tomorrow. This is my copy of, original copy of Tomorrow with the original EMI inner. This is a factory sample with Twink and Steve Howe. They brought out a record store day facsimile copy, which is really good. That's the one I play most often because the sound is fantastic on it. In the 80s, when I started playing, started collecting or buying psych, the one that I found first was this is Tomorrow's first album on decal, and the cost of these has absolutely shot up recently. It was a good introduction. It's the pressing isn't as good as the original, but it's still very good. Last year, Steve Howe, in his wisdom, remixed the album and changed the cover. So this is the remixed album of Tomorrow. There's 1 or 2 tracks left off, and they've got Real Life, Permanent Dream, 2 versions on there, with the inside cover, the whole package. The record is brilliant, of course, and it's a good remix, but the whole package is just so tacky and terrible. The cover is awful, I think. Such a mistake, which can't be said of this that came out on Get Back a few years ago, in 1999, which is Tomorrow, Christmas on Earth. This is Live Tomorrow album, and they were, by the sounds of it, pretty fantastic live. This was sanctioned by Twink and possibly the others, but it's packaged really well, unlike the other one, which is a bit of a disappointment. But this is another great English psych record. This is on Decca. This is a French copy or German copy, French copy of The End, Introspection. You should all know that one, on the Decca. But they also did a fantastic reissue with some outtakes and acetates, etc. A few years ago. So that's the, it's got a flipped over cover, so that's the acetates side, and the same inside. It's a great package. Another album I have multiple copies of, just because I do, is Satanic Majesties, one of my favourites. This is my original copy that I bought in about 1982. No lenticular sleeve, but I was absolutely blown away by that. Then I managed to get hold of it's got slight water damage on it, but an original with a lenticular cover on mono. Where are we there? So, but I also have a Greek copy, which is no gatefold, but it's got a slightly different cover, which I quite like. It's slightly ripped off Magical Mysteries Tour, I think, and the inside cover is on a sort of sepia on the back. This is on Pax Records, which is a sort of Greek label. And then a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, they brought out this monstrous. So it's got mono. It's a reissue with a lenticular cover. It's a fold-out job, and it's pretty hefty to work out. So it folds out like this. So it's got mono and stereo vinyl and mono and stereo CD. I also have some bootlegs. They're quite easy to find. Bootlegs of Satanic Majesties, best period of the Stones, if you ask me. They should have revisited it sometime. Another great Stones artifact that it's not really classed as psych, but I would say it was, is Brian Jones' The Pipes of Pan at Tijuca. This is the original. I don't know if it's ever been reissued, but it's Moroccan music, but it's pretty trippy, and I really like it. Yeah, so now we get on to another one we all know and love. This is my 5 Hours Back that I bought in the 90s when it came out, I think it was. They're actually getting quite scarce and quite expensive now. UK Kaleidoscope, we all love that one. And now I have this is an original. It's in pretty good nick on Fontana. I mean, that's classic English psych. They also did a gatefold that came out a few years ago with a remix by I think it's Sonic Boom from Spaceman 3, if I can get the shrink off, and with a gatefold cover. Really nice package. 2017 this came out. Pick that one up if you don't have if you can't get an original. Their second album isn't shown very often. I don't know why, because it's equally as good. And sometimes I think it's, sometimes I prefer it. So there was a great Sunbeam reissue of it, a perfect copy of the sleeve. Kaleidoscope faintly blowing, and this is actually one of the first psych records I ever bought. Was, if I can get it out of the sleeve, was an original. I got this in an Oxfam shop for about £2 in 1983 or 4. Cost you a couple of £1,000 now in this condition. This is a almost mint condition. I mean, you just don't see them. Fantastic record. Kaleidoscope also done quite a few reissues, singles and all sorts, and this is one of the best ones. This is Please Listen to the Pictures, which has got, the main point of this one is it's got lots of BBC sessions that they did for Radio 1 back in the 60s. Now turning to the other Kaleidoscope, which is the US one. This is Side Trips. I'm sure you all know that one, on the yellow Epic label, with, if I can get it back in, with the blue writing on the back. It's been bootlegged with black writing, but the original had the blue, I think. Their second album, and my favourite, was Beacon from Mars, originally titled Bacon from Mars, which was a lyric from, where is it? There's a song on here which is called Beacon from Mars, but it was originally, it was a printing error, and it should have been called Bacon from Mars. So it was too late once they'd already pressed it up to change it. So this is on the yellow Epic label as well. Actually, I do think this is the best one that they did. I really like the US Kaleidoscope. These are some of their other albums, Bernice and that one. And I have the Psychedelic Sounds of Kaleidoscope. This came out on Backtrack Records in the 80s, I think, 84. But they also put out a fantastic package just a few years ago, only very limited. I think it was only limited to 1,000 or something, which was a live album, outtakes and live stuff. It had this wraparound sleeve. It's a double album, and is great stuff. So those are the labels. No writing on the labels, but it's live in '67 in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and fantastic colour. Sometimes I do wonder about record companies who've got no idea what they're doing with reissues and things. Sometimes they get it so wrong. My first introduction to US Kaleidoscope was this one, which is on Edsel, and this is actually called Bacon from Mars, and has the whole sorry tale inside. It's fantastic, greatest hits basically. Not that they ever had any, but and then of course there is the South American Kaleidoscope. I don't have an original of that, but that's the one of the. There's a reissue with 2 or 3 different colours, I think. That's the one I have. I've got plenty of US Psych. One of my favourite ones is Orphan Egg. This is a German copy. Don't see that too often. Slightly different cover to the American. Let me just get some more albums. One of my favourite UK bands, if I can get hold of it, is the fantastic Mighty Baby. This has become quite well known recently. Didn't used to be. You used to be able to see it around quite a bit, but it's on the Head label, which was formed just for them. They are a fantastic group. I'm sure you all know them now because they're very well known. Their second album, which I don't have an original copy, this is on Sunbeam, Jug of Love. Slightly more acoustic, I would say, on that one. And they've put some great live albums out recently. One of which is this live, Tasting Life live in '71, which has got Blanket in My Muesli from the original Glastonbury. But actually, the better one of their 2 live albums has been reissued, been brought out, is this one, Live in the Attic, which is just brilliant. Really great stuff. Great fold sleeve. So the Mighty Baby were originally called The Action. They were sort of a mod band, followed around London by Phil Collins. He was one of that was his favourite band. And after they became Mighty Baby, they all got the religion bug and turned to Sufism, and in the early '70s brought out an album called The Habibia, which is kind of devotional Islamic music. It's mostly acoustic. It's psychedelic, I would say, but not an album that you see very often. But worth picking up if you can find it. It's not too common. Let me just grab the last pile. One of the great UK bands we all know, I'm sure, Blossom Toes. Their first album, We Are Ever So Clean, not quite up to Piper Against the Dawn, but it's close. It's a great whimsical psych record, and that's their second. If Only for a Moment, both on Marmalade Records. This was my first introduction up to them, which is called the Blossom Toes Collection. This is a double album, came out in the 80s on Decal. Everything they did was great. There's the whole story inside. They just didn't get the breaks. Managed by Giorgio Gamelski. There's been quite a few reissues and bootlegs and things of theirs. So this is Blossom Toes Live, the psychedelic sounds of Blossom Toes, recorded in '67. Side 2 is a 16-minute version of Captain Trip, which was one of their live numbers. Good stuff. This is a triple album of theirs that came out. Blossom Toes, Love Bomb Live 67 to 69. They were a phenomenal live band. Several of them went on to kind of greater things or more successful things. This is a limited edition number 78 of 1000 on Sunbeam. Odyssey and Oracle on this is an American copy on what is that on Tower? I forget now. Date on Date. I have a UK version as well, but I didn't get that one. I didn't pull that one out. One of the great European psychedelic bands that didn't hit home anywhere other than in their home country of Holland was Group 1850, Paradise Now. This has been shown quite a lot. This is on Discofoon, which was a chain of shops. It was the label for a chain of shops, sort of department store in Holland. And this is absolutely brilliant. Their second album, which isn't shown very often, but is occasionally shown, Agamemnon's Trip to Mother Earth, but I've never seen anybody showing an original copy, of which this is on Philips. This is stereo, so it has sort of booklet inside it, and it also comes with some 3D glasses that you can make up and trip out to the 3D cover whilst sailing away in your head to the music. It's a great record. Another UK band, Albert Gantry's Velvet Opera, pretty well known, this one. I don't have their second album, but I do have this bootleg, which has got some acetates and their single Flames, which was a bit of a hit. These interviews on the radio and their version of All Along the Watchtower, and it's great stuff. Another one that's shot up in value is recently is Creation of Sunlight. This is on Windy Records. Great sunshine pop, psychedelic pop, as is Neighborhood Children. These are all original thick card sleeves. Not to be mistaken with Eternity's Children on Tower. Great record again. In some subsequent videos I'll go through these in a bit more detail. There's been, I shall do a video on psychedelic compilations, because I've got several, a couple of hundred of those. There's been so many put out. One of the more recent ones is this series of Love, Peace and Poetry. This is the British one, I think. Yeah, British psychedelic music. And the inside cover, they all have the same, more or less the same outside cover, slight variations, but the inside cover is always the same. And that record, that inside cover is a direct steal of this, which is Venezuelan, the Pets, their one and only album on Discolanda. The cover is probably the best thing about this, but it's quite interesting period piece. Coming through to the 80s, when I started, there was a big resurgence in the mid 80s of psychedelic music. One of the best was Sundial's Other Way Out. This is an original on Tangerine, quite hard to find now, with the original lyric sheet. And it was reissued in a gold version. I think there's several reissues. This is the gold version, Other Way Out, on Acme Records. This was a revelation when it came out. It's a fantastic record. This is Bevis Front's first album, Miasma, and he was the one who kind of kick-started it in the 80s, the new trend for psych. I don't know if it's a trend, but everything he's done is worth it, is worth picking up. But the first three are fantastic, highly recommended. He did an album called Magic Eye with Twink, Bevis and Twink in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. This is a signed copy by both of them, and it's pretty good. Apparently Twink was a bit of a pain to work with on this, but it's worth picking up. Bevis Front, that's him. Nick Solomon was in a band in the early 70s, folk band called Odd Socks, and that's him there. And this is a copy of that, and it's signed by three of the band, including Nick. He used to run a record shop on the south coast of England up until a couple of years ago. It was pretty much only psychedelic music, and it was fantastic. Best record shop in the UK, in my opinion. I've also got a couple of, whilst I was looking at the 13th Floor Elevators, a couple of hefty box sets of theirs, which are great. This is Sign of the Three-Eyed Men. So this is the CD, the one with the CDs in it, and a massive booklet, and it's fantastic. They also brought out, that weighs a ton, Music of the Spheres with a lenticular cover, fantastic, printed inside. This one has another booklet, inside, and this is the albums in mono and stereo, and some live stuff. Headstone is in here. I don't know how many, I think there's about 8 albums in here. So these and all the others. Yeah, and it comes with, let me just get off a stack of books. It comes with a great lenticular version of the first album cover. There's also this great book, if you can find it still. I think it's probably out of print by now, which came out a few years ago. Paul Drummond, he wrote the notes to one of those box sets. This is the whole history of the band, and it's well worth picking up if you can. That's about it for now. I'll get back to making some videos again in a couple of weeks' time. Probably do some compilations and some singles, and then start going through my record collection alphabetically, probably, depending on how I feel. I hope you've been entertained and enjoyed what I've shown. That's just about it for now. Keep playing those records, hey?
Interplanetary remix to page 444. Hey, we go just in 35 years of absolute evil.